Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Carolyn Talks. I'm your host, Carolyn Hines, film critic and journalist. And this is the podcast where I talk to film creators about their work, the industry, and what inspires them. And today I'm joined by producer Jonas Lembeck to talk about a new short film, Almost Home, which I think, which for me, I actually kind of related to a lot. And for anyone who watches this, I think it'll be surprising what the topics that are dealt with in the film. And again, this is one of those instances where I'm always surprised by what a film is about. Like I always go with an expectation and then I always get surprised, pleasantly surprised. And I can't wait to talk about everything with Jonas about this film because it's very interesting. So it's about this 17-year-old Jacob, who is living on a space station with his mom, Nico, and she's a doctor, a scientist, and he's a 17-year-old student. And they're in this spaceship on their way home, and then they find out that there is a pandemic. And in the times that we're living in, this is something that everyone around the globe can relate to. But also, I think this is the first film that I've watched since the pandemic has begun, and films that do feature our stories about the pandemic, where the protagonist, one of the leads, is disabled. And me being having multiple sclerosis and being immunocompromised actually related a lot to Jacob in a sense. So we'll get into that. But first, thank you, Jacob, Jonas, so much for joining me today. As usual, I like to have my guests say a bit about themselves and what got them into filmmaking. So I'd just like you to introduce yourself and speak about how you became a film producer.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. First of all, very happy to be here and talk about Almost Home and about filmmaking in general and how I see it. So, I'm a producer. I'm the producer of Almost Home, which is now Oscar shortlisted, and such an honor that it is. And how did I get into filmmaking? I studied at the film school in Munich. That's where I met Nils, the director of Almost Home. That's where he pitched me the project for the very first time, because it's a student project. And 2 years ago, and that's when we started producing Almost Home. I founded my production company, Lehoff. It's Munich-based, together with two fellow students from Munich Film School. And yeah, we do. I would say our goal, our vision of filmmaking is to combine a relevant drama with great world building. So that's what we're going to do and aim for the next project, and that's what we try to do. And hopefully, the audience see it as we see it, what we try to do in Almost Home as well, in the short. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And so producing this film, I think even for a short film, this film had to be quite a challenge to produce and just to create together, because it's as I mentioned, it's sci-fi and it's set in space. And I do have to say the practical effects and the VFX and the way how it's put together is very well done. Like it's a very well made film, and that they're in a spaceship, so everything that we see is not like typical of Earth. You know, it's a spaceship, and there's all of these touches. So like you get the scenes inferring that they're in anti-gravity. Like, you know, there's this little yellow ping pong ball with a smiley face floating around. And then and it's I think it's probably one of my favorite small touches is Jacob has these little origami cranes, and he has them tethered to hold them down. And I thought that was such a small, it's so small, but it's such a detailed aspect of the film to let you know that this is space. They're not on Earth. So talk about just like beginning with the details of the film and just like putting together a film that's set in space, and it's a sci-fi film, and like all of the things like with the costuming is very well done, set design and VFX. So I want to talk about that part first.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you. That means a lot to us that also the audience see it this way, or you seeing it this way, because as you said, it was a kind of a challenge. So I have to admit that was a challenge putting all this together, because when Nils, the director and writer, pitched me the project for the very first time, I was amazed by the concept of setting this coming of age story in space, because for me it pretty much elevates the drama in a way that it's very good, because it's more contained, and setting a coming of age story or a pandemic related story in space is on the one hand, make it more dramatic, and on the other hand puts us as far away from COVID and from real political restrictions and all that stuff away as possible. So that was, first of all, I like the concept, and then the second thought on this was, okay, this is ambitious and it's gonna be a challenge because it's a short budget. That means limited resources. So what we did here, and pretty much it's great that you say you love the details, because that's pretty much important for us here, because we tried with every decision we made on this project, we tried to achieve exactly this, that the audience believes that it's space, and it's a set in space, but on the other hand, don't lose up the focus on the drama and on the human interaction and on this dilemma the family is facing, this freedom versus security, which I don't know, I would say pretty many of us went through during the pandemic. We all had these questions like, okay, want to be safe or have my freedom back, and so that was the challenge. And with every decision we have to make during this process of producing it, it was always like, okay, there was never spending money or throwing money on a problem was never an option in a working in a short budget. You always have to think twice and have to find a creative way of working around. And I think that's what we did every time. Every time I discussed it again and again with Nils and with George, the DOP. Okay, is there a way to, I don't know, find a creative way of working around? I don't know. And then, so what do we really need was basically the question with every decision, with every creative decision, with every decision regarding space scenes or zero gravity scenes and shots. So yeah, that was our approach to, I don't know, deal with the limited resources, but on the other hand, make this space setting as beautiful and polished as possible.
No, everyone succeeded. Like, I would have to say kudos to the production department. Like, all of the details are very well done, and I love watching sci-fi films and sci-fi shows. Like, I'm even wearing my Rose Sonati shirt because I'm a huge fan of The Expanse. So like I would have to say congrats to you and everyone involved with creating the practical effects, especially the VFX. The VFX are like really extremely well done. Like the scene with his dad reaches through and touches his arm. That's so unexpected, but it's just like, well done.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing to say about VFX, because credits go absolutely to one guy. His name is Lucas Fett, and he was the VFX supervisor, and he did every single CGI shot on his own. So he had a sleepless night during a whole year of post-production. So that was insane, and I'm very grateful to have him attached on this project, because we couldn't afford a studio or a VFX supervisor to do it, so that's why we asked Lucas, also a fellow student from Munich, and he was, I'm gonna do this, and he worked his ass off, so to speak, really to make things happen here. We're grateful for that.
Yeah, he did it. I think he did. Well, if it's just his one, that makes it even more impressive, because like what he did is, I think I would say like big budget level, because like the graphics, like just that scene with his dad and the holographs for that is just like extremely well done. That's one of the most impressive things to me about the film. So kudos to you, Lucas. Well done.
Thank you.
So like you said, of course we have to talk about the fact that this film, I think it does two very big things, I think, extremely well with the story, where it talks about the relationship of a mother and a son. And there's that, just them having, I think they have a really good relationship as mother and son. But once it comes talking about his health, talking about Jacob's health, that's where you see tension between Nico and Jacob, because he's 17 years old. He's not a legal adult, but he's growing and he's becoming more his own. And as I said, I'm immunocompromised. When the pandemic happened, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was stuck indoors for 2 years. Like the only time I left, the only time I left home was to go to doctor's appointments or to walk my dog, or I would go to the supermarket, which is like 5 minutes walk down the street. And that was the only time I left home. So I was home for 2 years, and then I got COVID twice. So I was home again.
Oh my God. Okay.
In isolation. So when the film is talking about isolation, and that, especially coming from the perspective of a disabled person, I think Nils and his co-writer Maximilian, I think they did a really good job, like getting that sense of frustration that Jacob has, because I relate to that a lot. So I want to talk about that aspect of the film, about just the relationship between Nico and Jacob, where it's like two-dimensional. It's like they have a good rapport, but then once it comes talking about his health, like everything just like is like very tense. It's like you can tell there's a battle between her wanting to protect him and also trying not to stifle him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, that's an impressive story, of yourself during the pandemic. Wow, that's okay. So I think so. First of all, what we tried, we have to say that we did not want to, I don't know, do a comment on COVID. So that was never our goal while producing it. So that's very important to us. I would say we want to pose a broader question about freedom versus security, about how families deal with these questions, and also what is a life worth living in, Mm-hmm. That was more our goal than to, I don't know, comment on political restrictions or whatever. So that's quite important. And then that said, I would say that being immunocompromised also, I don't know, make it more, not even more dramatic, but if for yourself the question means a lot more, I would say, also during the pandemic, as you have experienced as well. You think decisions also more than twice, and for the mother, it's always the ultimate goal to protect her son. And for the 70-year-old Jacob in our story, the last thing he wants is to be stuck with his mother, mm-hmm. as much as he loves her, but being a 17-year-old guy, the last thing you want is to be stuck with your mother in a contained spaceship. Because normally, I mean, during the pandemic, I don't know, but a normal 17-year-old, when they wants to rebel, against their parents, they can, I don't know, jump up the window and flee. But that's not possible in space.
No, yeah, run away.
So, and that's the special thing about this setting. And I would say every single person had his own experience during the pandemic related to this question, and that's what we wanted to achieve, actually, so that everyone. We want to pose a question and not providing answers with this short, and hopefully that's also what we achieved by producing it. We want to, ask some question for everyone answer, and everyone can answer them by their own means. So yeah.
No, for sure, I get the concept of the questions, because the thing is that we can't help but talk about COVID, because that's the world that we live in now, and we've been there for going on almost 3.5-4 years. But the film, which I think is interesting, the pandemic, and like COVID isn't mentioned, the word COVID isn't mentioned, but it mentions a flu-like pandemic, and it only happens, that's only addressed closer to the end of the film. Whereas the whole sense of isolation and being confined has nothing to do with the pandemic. It has just to do with Jacob actually being treated like his mom takes him to space, because like she believes this environment, because it's more sterile and it's more controlled, and it is a place where he could receive healing or treatment for his disability. And I think the whole idea of freedom versus confinement is, I think, actually smartly addressed in that while on Earth, he's disabled and he has autoimmune disease, and he has a genetic disease that was, I assumed it was affecting his bones. So I was thinking something like spina bifida or something like that, or like MS, because MS, like it does affect your mobility. And while on Earth, he was in a wheelchair, but he was still more free. He's confined to a wheelchair, but he's more free. He's able to go around with his friends. He has a girlfriend that he likes, and like they're able to explore the forest and all of that stuff. But in space, he's walking, he's using crutches, he's exercising, he's being rehabilitated, but he's still more confined than he ever was on space. So I like that dichotomy in the story.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant was saying. He has his own experience about freedom, because on Earth, as you said, he's not able to walk, but he can meet his love interest, meet his girlfriend, go to parties. I don't know. So is this the freedom he wants, or the life which being is worth living it, or being more secure when it comes to his disabilities and to his immune sickness, but being in this contained spaceship with his mother? So it's also kind of a freedom, because he, I don't know, is so that's hard to answer, and that's what we want to achieve. Like, everybody has his own, I don't know, opinion on that, I guess. So yeah,
I like films like this that, for the audience especially, makes audiences think. And I think for people who aren't disabled, or maybe even don't have anyone disabled in their life, to think about how disabled people see themselves, or how we see ourselves. Because a lot of people would look at someone like Jacob in a wheelchair and think his life is pitiful. And like, you think, oh, you're confined to a wheelchair, like you can't do this. And like, no, like being disabled doesn't stop you from living life,
yeah.
and like the film does, I think it should, or if people are really paying attention, be able to also think about their prejudices, because that happens with Jacob's parents, with Nico and Tom, where Tom wants him to be more free. He doesn't see his disability as a restriction. He's like, I want you to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Whereas Nico, I think she's seeing it not only from the perspective of a mother, but she's looking at it from a very medical perspective. She's not thinking of the emotional aspect.
Yeah, that's right. And also, we wanted to, like, when it comes to our characters, as you said, Nico is a doctor. She's a scientist, and she is, from that perspective, very rational about things and about decisions. And that's what we also wanted to achieve, to have this different characters, and parents, Nico and Tom, with their, I don't know, opinion on this decision. And so that's good to hear, that you say that you also, I don't know, see it that way.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can answer. You should be able to answer this. So, what I noticed about the film, with talking about Tom and Nico, is for Tom, his background is always nature. He has the trees and the songs of the birds behind him. That's his background for his avatar, for his holograms. Whereas for whenever we get the shots of Nico, everything is off. They're in the spaceship, so everything is always the spaceship. So it's like you have a kind of like this dichotomy, or this opposites for the whole concept of freedom versus confinement, or so like it plays out very well visually. So talk a bit about that with you as a producer, and then working with Lucas, you're the VFX supervisor, and also with the set designers, like figuring out how to portray these opposites visually for the audience.
Yeah, so that was also a part of the concept, to have Tom and Earth really represents this one kind of, or way of living freely, or of freedom. That was to really, we tried to really, I don't know, make this as opposite as possible, because for us it was quite important that talking to Tom and remembering, I don't know, life with his girlfriend is really is his dream, and it's really, he's close to that. This dream will come true. He's as close as he can be, and then this pandemic hits Earth. So that was Carl's concept, to really, also the scenes in the very beginning, when they're at the lake. Mm-hmm. That was quite important, and we put a lot of effort into it to shoot this as emotional as possible, and make it really regarding the colors and so on. So that was really, we really put a lot of effort into that. And then on the other hand, this spaceship, I wouldn't necessarily say that the plan was to do this as clean or polished as possible. And also for us, also the spaceship is contained, but it also should be cozy, because it is also kind of a home. And also for him, in the end, it's the home for the next probably 2 years, 3 years. We don't know when he's ever be able to return to Earth. So so that was part of the concept, to make it as opposite as possible, but both could be his potential home, Tom, and also the spaceship. So yeah.
And like talking about the beginning of the film, the scenes at the lake. So this is I love like picking up on little details. That's kind of one of my things. Like I always pay attention to like small details. And like one of the things is like the film opens with Jacob, he's learning Japanese and he's reciting these words in Japanese, and they're all words to do with nature, like sun, wind, trees. And again, that's kind of like inferring, or even like his subconscious of everything that he thinks about his home is about nature. Like his subconscious is longing for nature. And there's this song that plays, and the song references that. The song references saying goodbye to the sun, saying goodbye to sunsets, and like holding a lover's hand. So talk a bit about, like we talked about working with Lucas. So talk about working with the musician. Who's the musician that you had to write this song for the film, and like how it ties into the whole theme of the film?
Yeah, so the musician, his name is Hans Könnecke. So he's also from Munich. And I
everyone,
think,
like that's the best thing. If you're going to a film school, like get everyone from the film school to take part.
Hans is not from the film school, but he's also from a city from Munich. So it's pretty much Munich crew. And so also the goal was also, I don't know, when it comes to music, to have this representation of what means home for Jacob, or what does freedom mean. So that was also the goal here to, I don't know, feature that in the music. And as you said, like nature and freedom and I don't know, and love and all those aspects are what Earth means to Jacob. And the spaceship is kind of an opposite, but not at all, because it's also his home, and it was his home. So yeah, but also in the music we try to achieve this.
So when you're as a producer, one of your jobs is to be involved in almost every aspect of the filmmaking. That includes working with Nils to get the cast. So like, how did you guys find Susanne Wolff, who plays Nico, and Jeremias Meyer to play Jacob? Like I think they did extremely well. And they conveyed a lot for their characters. Like there's the frustration and the worry that Nico has as a mother, but then as Jacob, like Jeremias, I think did a really good job as like portraying. As I said, me being disabled and being immunocompromised, I related a lot to him. So I think he did a really, really good job conveying a lot of things that I myself was feeling during the pandemic. And even just being a disabled person, where you just want to be seen as yourself, and you don't want your disability to define you, even though it does in some ways. So talk about like the casting process and settling on Susanne and Jeremias.
Yeah, so first of all, very grateful for the cast we were able to attach, because Susanne is a quite well-known actress here in Germany. She is a German Film Prize winner. So with Stux, there was a movie where she won the film prize with. And actually, like when it comes to the casting process, I would say it was not classic casting process. It was more like writing love letters to to the actors or to the actress Susanne, where we where we wrote why she would be the very best for playing Nico, and it was pretty much like that, because we saw her in Stux, and that's also that in Stux she's on a ship, on a sailing ship, and that was why we thought, and we liked her performance a lot, and that's why I thought, okay, she's the perfect fit for playing Nico. And also with Stephan Kampwirth, who starred in Dark, the father. It was pretty much the same.
I've seen Dark, so I was like, I knew he looked familiar.
yeah, and it was pretty much the same. We I don't know, it was like writing a love letter and say, hey, do you want to, I don't know, be part of the project and star in Almost Home? So that was the casting process. So there was no real casting process. We were pretty much convinced that this is the very best fit, and then we were happy to attach them.
And I guess it being a short film definitely helped because they don't have to like commit like months, like 3, 4, or 5 months of filming. Doing that. And then speaking about that, how long did filming last?
So we had 11 principal shooting days and 1 shooting day at the lake. So that was half shooting day at the lake, I would say, not part of the principal shoot. So and we couldn't afford a proper stage, where we could build the spaceship in and shoot. So we rented an old hall in Munich that was before used by the wastewater management. So the smell was kind of an issue during the shoot. That's why I said we were very lucky to attach these cast, because they also, and it was also part of the project, because there wasn't a lot of money, not a lot of budget, and they took it as it was. So so the 11 days of shooting in this old hall in Munich, and before we built up this spaceship, I would say for 8 weeks, something like that, 3 months in total.
So that's actually pretty impressive again for like that length of time, especially as I said, for the ship is for what we see of the ship and what I know would have been like practically fast, like the chairs that they sitting and like the different things that they have to sit on, like the machines, and even the crutches that Jacob used. I told myself I have to ask about these crutches because those aren't actual. I don't know if maybe they are the real type of crutches sold in Germany. Are they, or were they made specially for the film? Like the design, because the design isn't typical.
For what crutches do you mean?
Like for the crutches that Jacob uses, the ones that attach to his arm and that he uses to
no, they are, I would say, the thing about, no, they was made especially for the movie, for the film.
Whoever made those should get those prototypes. Because they look cool, but they also look very functional, more functional, more comfortable than the typical crutches that people use. So
okay. I will remember.
Right. So like we're talking about the film like we talk again about freedom. So for you personally, did your ideas of what freedom is and what freedom could be in with regards to like not only your health, but just like your ability to be able to do what you want to really and let me see what's the word I'm looking for, and redefining relationships in your life, did that change before or during filming? Because again, like this film was made during the first 2 years of the pandemic, and so much things, a lot of people had to redefine a lot of things in their life, like priorities shifted, like people had to realize, okay, this, like a lot of people changed careers because they were like, life is short, and like this is what I really want to do. And like for you during the filming and like in just like, was there anything for you that shifted or that you had to reprioritize or you had to rethink while you were filming, that the film made you think about that you didn't think about before? Did I make that clear? I think I kind of jumbled that up.
Yeah, I think you did. So to be very honest, during the shoot, I was not thinking about these questions at all, because I was totally busy with this project. But after that, I would say it pretty much shifted. I would say, well, for me, it became very clear that every single person, every individual has his very own perception of freedom, and what does it mean freedom to them. That I would say that shifted, because before I was like, okay, and you mentioned that as a disabled person, it may be completely different, from being not a disabled person, what freedom means. So I would say that shifted in a way that for me it became very clear, so crystal clear. Okay, it's totally different to everybody, and that's okay, and that's a good thing. I would say to remember.
Freedom is very is very individual. Like I live with my twin sister, and like she's not disabled like me, but she had to learn how to adapt her way of doing things for me. Like whenever we go, she has to wear a mask. I wear a mask, but she had to learn how to adapt to make things safe for me. But then she also had to she became more free in a sense that she began working from home too. Like for a lot of companies, they had to figure out how their employees would work. And like even now where things are relatively more safe and like from a lot of people, things have gone back to normal, she still works from home most of the time. Like she works from home 2 days, 2 days and like goes back into the office 3 days. And like she's more relaxed at home rather than she was before, you know, like before she was always stressed. Like something she'd call me and she'd be like, Carrie, I'm so stressed and stuff. But she doesn't do that now because while she's home, she has to work regular 9 to 5 hours, but she's able to relax more. She can take a break, you know, turn on the TV and watch something during her break or go take a walk. And like for her, she's more free now than she was before.
Yeah, and I think that's the same for many people, you know, like with all these topics like remote work or working from home, you know, that's something for many people that means having more freedom, you know. And I think that's great. And for other people, maybe it's, you know, they feel more free when they, I don't know, can leave their house every single day and, I don't know, be on travel and or commuting or I don't know. So maybe that's their way of living their life or working or whatever, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I got a dog and she makes me go outside. Like she's here sleeping, like she's here sleeping, and I'm like she gets me out of the house, right? So I totally get it. And like we're gonna wrap up soon because I know you say you only had a certain amount of time. Like, but for now that you've done this project and it's shortlisted for an Oscar, like what does that mean for you and the team? Because I know like it's abstractly, I know it's like a big deal, but still for you personally, what does that mean for you? Not only for the project, but for you as a producer and as for someone to have had this happen so relatively new within your career, because you said that Nils presented this to you while you were students, right?
Yeah, that's right. So first of all, it's a huge honor to be shortlisted among these other great filmmakers, you know. And it's for me personally, it means a lot because it was the very first project I worked on, also with Nils together. Not the first project I worked on, but when I founded my company 2 years ago, that was the first project we engaged in. So and also at this time I was a student at film school, and so it was kind of the first really big project, you know. And in the 2 years there was happening a lot, but you know, so there was this project means a lot to me personally, because it was so ambitious with the small budget to set things up, and then there was this amazing team, you know, who all gave a lot for this project. It was really a lot, and so many people, I don't know, had sleepless nights, and but we had a common vision. I would say we all had this common vision. Okay, if we are able to finish this project, there could probably be a great outcome and a great film, you know. And I'm so honored to receive feedback that this film touches people emotionally and it says something to them and that they can relate to it. So that means a lot. And also, you know, being shortlisted for this Oscar now is like that's a great reward for I don't know, all this effort we put into this movie. And we are, for the next project, Nils and I developing together at the moment, I think we aim for the same thing, you know, to combine this deeply human stories with great world building and to make it in that way entertaining. But you know, in the end, it's a coming of age story, or it's a story about family, or I don't know what story, but you know, that's what we're aiming for the next project. So that's the big goal. And also working together with Nils is great because we share the same vision here. And during this project, we really, I don't know, found our way, you know, of working together as a creative duo, I would say. And that's what I'm grateful for. So just enjoying it.
No, enjoy every bit of it. Like you guys have earned it and you deserved it. And like I was gonna ask you what your next project was going to be. Do you guys are you already working on a project? Like is there already a finished script or screenplay in that you guys are already beginning to like develop, or like the first steps of producing it? Yeah,
I would say there are several projects, and one I would say is we're gonna announce it, but so we are working on a almost on the feature, for example. So that's what we're definitely working on. Want to extend this short. But as I said, the way we think about filmmaking is exactly this, to have these stories, to have these relatable characters, but then also, I don't know, combine it with great world building and to set it in a interesting world you want to discover, and to make it also entertaining, but on the other hand, never lose this, I don't know, deeply human story in it.
And so once the film has finished, once Almost Home has finished, I guess you could say, with the festival circuit, and that usually ends with the Oscars. Are you looking to have it platformed on any sites? Because I know there's Dusk usually platforms a lot of independent sci-fi films, and I've done a few interviews for a couple of them. Are you looking for it to be platformed anywhere?
Yeah, we definitely, I don't know, we have some, discussions about that at the moment, and to have some potential partners we're talking to. Let's see. We're definitely looking for a platform. And yeah, as you said, for us, it's not the end of the festival circuit. It's more like the beginning, because the film was finished in July. July last year. So it's pretty new. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, again, congrats to you and the team and everyone who worked on this film. Like, you guys deserve everything. You did a fantastic job. Be proud of yourself.
Well, thank you very much, and also thanks for having us. It was a pleasure to talk to you.